for Node. One thing that I'm noticing as I'm doing this refactoring is I'd gotten this application to the point where I was starting to inject dependencies like manually, and I was like, it needs to use like a dependency injection framework like Nest.js or something like this actor model, this decoupling. You know, the Fluidsynth does need to print things to the LCD. The menus need to print things to the LCD. The system needs to print messages to the LCD. So, you know, I encapsulated those concerns in classes, and then I was injecting the LCD into them. I guess the benefit of dependency injection is you can inject mocks, whereas with the actor model, you can't really do that. But one thing I have done is in my LCD controller, I've just, you know, implemented the actual interaction with the hardware in here. And if the LCD is not connected, like on my Mac, for example, if I want to test the application on here, there's no LCD connected to it. So if there's no LCD, it'll just log it to the console. So this is kind of like it's not really a mock, but some kind of control of the different environments. All right. Okay. So yeah, now I have to go in and refactor these other high-level components because they directly write to the LCD. Should be pretty easy for me to refactor them just to the... I've switched the menu and the LCD. I think the LCD is the first one. So if I go into this dial, what does this say? Okay. We've created a new dial. So I think I need to change the dial to a dial actor. No, because the dial never actually gets called. It's purely reactive. It reacts to the hardware and then emits messages. But what I'm doing in the main file here is I'm just like, if I'm in an environment where there's no dial, don't create it. Instead, I'll take the same approach I did with the LCD controller, which is I just create the controller as an object, as an actor, and then it takes care of whether it needs it or not. And then I also no longer need to inject these handlers which couple it with the menu. I just send a message to the menu controller. So, yeah, okay. If I create a dial controller, dial controller actor .ts, and in here, I'll copy the code from the LCD controller, which is, here's how we determine if the dial is enabled. It's kind of misnamed. It's rename the symbol to dial enabled. It uses an environment variable for the LCD. My assumption here is that if there's an LCD, there's also a there's also a dial. So here we just say if the dial is enabled, create a new dial. It doesn't receive any messages, it just emits them. So in that case, dial controller, it's not even a dial controller actor. Could I put it into the dial itself? No. It's not really an actor though. Anyway, we just do this. Export const create dial equals, and it's going to be a function, and we just do this. Ding. Import this. Okay, so on down, what we need to do is send the message to the menu controller. On down, on press, and on up, let's make sure that the menu controller supports those messages. Button pressed. Okay. go up, and go down. And it will just dispatch those to the There's two ways I could do it. I could have an interaction message with different types. Interaction message, yeah, that's going to be easier in the logic here, so I would say interaction, dial interaction, or dial event. Dial interaction event. Dial interaction event. And then grab these out of here, go into dial, no, the dial controller actor. It's not really an actor. Put it in actor constants. Put it in here. Export enum dial interaction events event, and these are them. Main. So menu controller actor. Yeah, take those out. And then dial interaction event. Rename the symbol to dial interaction event message. Type is dial interaction event. And then we'd put event type. And that's of type dial interaction event message. Dial interaction event. Like that. So if the type is a dial interaction event, and then we just dispatch the entire message to the active menu. Cool. So in the dial controller here, all we need to do on down is dispatch actor. I need to get the reference. How do I get a system reference in NACT? Stateful actors. How do I get an reference? Let's have a look at getting started. Well, let's just import system and see what I can do with that. So system dot, no, not actor system. My auto import is kind of broken because too much of the code is not compiling. System is here. Actor system ref. Okay, so I should make it take a menu controller then. Dial, dial, dial. Where'd the dial controller actor go? There. So it should take a menu controller, which is an actor system ref. Like that. So dispatch to the menu controller. Type is menu controller actor. Dial interaction event message. controller actor. So let's grab this. Can you import it? Nope. Menu controller actor messages. Menu controller actor. Menu controller actor messages. Got to export this. There we go. Should make it available. Import. Okay, save. And then event type is dial interaction event. Go down. And then here, this is button pressed. And this is go up. There we go. Done. So it creates a dial with those things, reacts to the dial, dispatches the events to the menu controller actor. The menu controller actor then dispatches the event to the active menu, and then it just changes the active menu here. Beautiful. So active menu so the state active menu, no, should be an actor system ref. Actum sister ref or undefined. Add that. State.activeMenu. Oh, hang on a second. This is stateful. So, yeah, you got to return the state. Wonder what happens if you return undefined. We just say, if there is an active menu, dispatch the event to the menu. Ta-da! There we go. Looks good. Okay, so here, instead of doing this thing here, we just need to do create dial. So just say create dial, and then I got to pass in the menu controller. Okay, so I'll move this up closer to the menu controller itself. Don't need that. Makes my LCD prints a little bit more verbose, but whatever. Okay, so yeah, creating this new menu, I'm going to have to break this class down into separate objects. And the Fluidsynth as well. Okay, let's have a look at the Fluidsynth. Go to the definition of the Fluidsynth. Okay, it's an actual Fluidsynth with methods. Okay, so in order to avoid this LCD print, well, we're going to dispatch a message to the LCD Okay. This thing, what kind of state does this have? Soundfont library. And how does it use its state? Can I... Okay. So there's an actual Fluidsynth, which any kind of like thing that gets bootstrapped and doesn't ever change its state, like the actual Fluidsynth itself, like the Fluidsynth process, I could put it inside the closure, and then all that will be inside the actor function is the actual mutable state. I have to think about that a little bit. And then this kind of font scrolling in the sound library. Sound library cursor. Yeah. Okay, so I have to change the methods of the Fluidsynth. Okay, let's dig into it and actually do it. Let's have a look at it. I'm gonna have to go into the Soundfont library because that is something this really depends on. This is the kind of issue that I'm talking about, is that there's a Soundfont library, and then things like the menus need to know what the font list is to list all of the things that are, all the different fonts as you scroll through them. So I was like, there's a singleton Soundfont library. So I need I'll go to the Soundfont library, and then different things need to do like cursoring through them. So I probably need to create something like a stateful Soundfont cursor. Then passing messages back and forward. Maybe I could send a query. I'm going to have to do querying. Let's have a look at queries. Querying. Actor systems. Blocking. Request comes in. I have a query function with a promise. Well, let's create the Soundfont library first. Let's have a look at the Soundfont library class as it is now. It has some state. And that state is... it's twofold actually, and this is where the problem lies with the Soundfont library. One is the list of sound fonts, which is loaded from the disk, and you might add some additional ones and need to reload them. But then there's the current selected sound font. And that's okay as long as all you do is like switch between sound fonts and they switch. But what if you want to be able to scroll through them without loading them, or just look at them? So how should I break this into a concern? How should I encapsulate the concerns? Well, one is loading the sound fonts from the disk. It would be useful to be able to reload them so I can, copy a new sound font into the synthesizer and then not have to restart the application to reload it. So I could add that as a menu option. So there should be a thing that has a state, which is the list of sound fonts. And you can send a message to it and tell it to reload. Okay, so I need to create a Soundfont library actor. Okay, it's going to be a stateful actor. LCD's done. Get rid of the LCD toast. Forget about the menu controller. Keep that one open. The Fluidsynth we can get rid of in the meantime. Actor constants, might need an LCD actor, can get rid of that. Keep the main open. Okay, so the Soundfont library actor, it's a stateful actor. So I'm going to copy, I get rid of the dial controller. I'll copy my menu controller, which is stateful. Soundfont library actor. Put it next to the Soundfont library. Okay. Export const. Soundfont library equals, it takes a root, which is an actor system ref, and then it returns a spawn, which is a stateful actor, the root, and actor, go to the definition of actor. Nope. Go to the definition of that. Yeah. Soundfont library. Oh, thanks, Arpit. I see that. All that talking, you can't see anything. Cancel this. Go back one. Wow, what did I just hit there? I did something. There we go. Awesome. Thanks for that, buddy. So this is the Soundfont library. And what goes in here? I think it's a message and a context and a state. Yeah, it needs the state. So state's like a reducer, state reducer. Ding. Okay, so the state has nothing in it to begin with. I don't know what kind of shape the Soundfont library will have, actually. At the moment, it's just simply an array of file names. It probably needs to be a bit more complex. My motivation in doing this refactor is you can load sound fonts in the synthesizer, but each sound font has like hundreds of instruments in it. So I want you to be able to scroll through the instruments and then select an instrument out of a sound font and then like add them to your favorites so that you can like, so there's, you know, two menus there already. There's like favorites, and then there's like scroll through the sound fonts and then explore the instruments in each of the sound fonts. So there's like multiple submenus. So I think the shape of the sound font library, let's define it as an interface. Sound font library entries. It's either going to be an array or a keyed object. I'll make it an alphabetically sorted array. Yeah, I'll do that. So it's going to be an array. And in here, it should have like a font name, which is a string. Instrument, which is a number. Bank, which is also a number. And then like a friendly name, string. Let's try that. Empty array. And then the type of state is sound font library entries. never. In that case, this one. There we go. In that case, make this an entry. There we go. Nice. Okay, so in messages. So messages are basically like commands. Soundfont library message. And we'll say load library, scan library, update, scan, scan update, scan library. I'm going to have to export this. Okay. How do I specify this message type? Actor system ref. State any, message any. How do I type this thing here? Okay, I think these should be types. This is for the query type. So you can do two things to start with. You can scan the library on the disk. Okay, so if message dot type, so interface Soundfont library message. It has a type, which is a Soundfont library type message. That's it to start with. Bam. Okay. Load the font list. Path and FS. Since this does rely on the state, yeah, I could refactor it out of the actor control function into its own function down here. Pretty easily like this. Function SF, no, scan library. So I basically scan the library, and then I have to deal with the situation where the currently selected sound font disappears. I won't worry about that to begin with. These come back in alphabetical order, so I'll just return them. SF. Yeah, I don't. That's a concern that shouldn't be in the Soundfont library itself. This is the kind of mixing of concerns that concerns me. Worrying about what the currently selected one is. It's not the concern of the library to do that. Okay, so is add it to the state. So its state looks like, oh, where? Okay. This is not scan library, this is scan sound fonts on disk. And these are Soundfont files. So, it's not really an interface. It's more a type. Soundfont files is just an array of string. And so the state really should be interface Soundfont library state equals, and it will be files, which is of type Soundfont files. Not equals. And then entries? Guess so. Soundfont file library entries, yeah, alphabetical order of entries. Well, I guess function read Soundfont, what are they called? Library. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to store that as a JSON file. So I'll do this. Soundfonts. Okay, and then I'll just create another directory called Soundfont library. Soundfonts, Soundfont library. Soundfont. Yeah, okay, I'll do it like this. Soundfont library.json. Put it in the same directory as the Soundfont files. And so what I'll do here is I'll just filter it out of the file list. It's easier, I think. F dot, this is just the name. So F does not equal. It's going to be a JSON file. Ding. Okay, so instead we should say exists sync, in which case libfile equals that, and then let's say libfile exists. Libfile exists equals that. Okay. And then if libfile, no, just do this. Return libfile exists. If it does, require it. And if it doesn't exist, return that. Okay. So nothing. Scan library. So files will be scan sound those, the files on disk, and entries will be read the Soundfont library. That's the new state. Okay, so if the message is a query, let's have a look at how we do a query. Soundfont library message types get library. Let's have a look. Get contact. You got to dispatch it to the message sender. Okay, so dispatch message.sender payload state, yeah, type success, why not? Sender ctx.self, there we go. I say return current state if unchanged. Put that at the end. So I guess we need to add an entry. Okay, function write Soundfont library. And then we'd say library. Make it type any. And then we're going to go fs write file write JSON. No, write file sync. Yeah, okay. JSON stringify it. JSON stringify. Library. Comma null, comma 2. What doesn't it like about that? Path. Oh yeah, okay, so path. And the content. Ding. Oh, okay, I already had that. Okay, DRY function get library file path. Return that. Get library file path. We may need to update one as well. Write Soundfont library. Well, let's see, add entry. And then I'm going to have update entry. I won't do update entry to begin with, so I have no idea what that'll look like, but add entry we can definitely do. Message is a Soundfont library message. Okay, that's not quite right. Interface, Soundfont library, what, scan message, type. Soundfont library, get message. Soundfont library, add entry message. And this is going to be of a type Soundfont library, message, types, add entry, and then it needs to have an entry, which is a Soundfont library entry. Bam. Okay, change this to a type and make it an intersectional type. It's either a get message, Soundfont library, scan message, Soundfont library, add entry message. Bam. Okay, so the get library should have a sender, which is a actor system ref. Okay, so if the message is a type, Soundfont library message types, add entry, then we're going to still like this, const new library equals entries. So new library entries equals, and it is this. Okay, so what I need to do is put the state dot what entries. What? State any. That's better. And then it's an array, so we're just going to put the message dot entry in there, and then I want to sort them based on what? Friendly name. An entry. No, sort takes an A and a B. A and a B. A dot friendly name. Sort array alphabetically JavaScript. How to sort an array alphabetically in JavaScript. Oh, okay. A first name and last name. Okay, so it's a ternary. No, it's a quaternary. Oof. Oh, this sucks. There should be just a sort alphabetically, man. Okay, if A friendly name, I wonder if I could do friendly name as AF. Can I do that? Friendly name as BF. No, it's not as, that's for typing. So I think I go colon AF, is that how you do it? And then colon BF. Does that work? Let's get rid of this for the time being. AF. String. BF. Why doesn't it like this? Oh yeah, okay, cool. If AF is less than BF, return -1. If AF is greater than BF, return 1. Otherwise, yuck. I'll do it like this. If AF equals BF, return 0. Return AF is -1 or 1. Yeah, yuck. Okay, the new library entries are all sorted. Okay, so we got the new this. So now we need to write the Soundfont library. Okay. It should not be any, it should be an array of Soundfont library entries. Ding, there we go. New library entries. And then we're going to return this new state. So state and then entries, new library entries. Ta-da! There we go. That was easy. Goodbye. Thank you for your service. Okay, so we can now add a new entry. So a menu can add an entry. It's by sending a message to the Soundfont library. Okay. I think I need to have something that's like a cursor. It's a stateful. Yeah, I'll make it as a class rather than actor. Soundfont library cursor. It's a problem though, because if you rescan the library, all the cursors will be outdated, and they'll need to be. I need some mechanism for invalidating any cursors that exist. Is there a way to broadcast a message to actors? Can I broadcast to actors? Broadcasting. A stateful actor. The thing is that different menu entries need different cursors into the Soundfont library. So the kind of current cursor position is state that's specific to the menu entry rather than to Soundfont library. Okay, I'll make it an actor. I think each menu actor is only going to need one cursor. So this actor could be a stateful actor. A stateful actor that has a table of cursors, and if it's responding to queries, it knows who the query is from. So it would create a cursor for them. Okay. Yep, we can do this. Okay, it's a stateful. So when we create a new entry or when we rescan, oh, this is not so good because the state doesn't change. See, if I tell the cursor to invalidate here, it will query the state, but the state hasn't changed yet. How do you deal with that? What are persistent queries? Okay. Okay, so it mentioned encoders and decoders. Schema evolution. Yeah, okay. No, that's not what I was after. How do I invalidate my queries? Oh, I know what to do. Wherever I call scan library, I need to call invalidate cursors. Hopefully that'll work. Okay, so the Soundfont library actor. Let's grab this piece here. Okay, so Soundfont library cursors. So in the state, so interface, Soundfont library cursor. Cursor state. Making types like this is kind of like pseudocode. Okay, it's a stateful actor and the state, so it's got cursors. And then cursors is an object which is keyed on actor system ref. And then it could be an entry cursor. So cursor type. It's either a file cursor or an entry cursor. And then it has, what would I say? Cursor? Index, which is a number. Is it? Let's have a look at the shape of the Soundfont library. Actor. Yeah. Soundfont files is an array of strings. I should do this. This makes it easy. There we go. If the cursor gets invalidated, the number will jump. They're keyed on either friendly name, so yeah, okay, I'll give it a key, which is a string. Cursors. Nothing in there to start with. So interface, Soundfont library cursor. Now I'll just call it cursor entry. And the cursor entry is this, I think. Yeah. Okay, message. It's a go to the definition. Soundfont library cursor equals Soundfont library cursor. Soundfont library cursor. Must be either string or a number. Really? Oh, you can't. Oh, man. Really? Okay. JavaScript, object, index. Key. You can't use like symbols or something? Strings. Oh. Okay, well, in that case, we just have to make it a string. So, type. This is called a Soundfont library cursor message type. Create cursor. Move forward. Move backward. Move to key. Okay. Interface create cursor message. Type is Soundfont library. I have to make this an enum. Equals this one. Equals this one. Equals this one. In the zone. Create cursor. Cursor type is going to be this intersection here, or union, discriminated union, I don't know. Cursor type. Yeah, I guess sender actor system ref. Let's see if we can get a string out of that. Type Soundfont library cursor message equals create cursor message. It's the only message we'll take to begin with. Okay, if message dot type equals bam. Okay. Const sender equals message dot sender. Let's see what we can do with it. Really? It's got no properties at all. Go to the type definition. Abstract class. It's going to be a stateful actor. Actor props, stateless actor props. Okay, spawn returns a ref. Hopeless. Oh, it's only useful for the actor system. Querying. Sender. Oh, it's the virtual sender. No, the virtual sender's no good. I see. Let's go back here. Let's have a look at what this menu controller has on it. It's a concrete instance. Nothing. Alright, it's just a ref. Okay, That's easy to fix. So key, cursors, name, a cursor entry. Current cursor key, current cursor index. Not the sender, but the name, and it's a string. Let's just grab everything off the message. Cursor type and name. Okay. What happens if a cursor already exists with that name? Whatever. Const new cursor, which is a, I think I've called it a cursor entry, but cursor entry. This is really just a cursor. So rename this here to cursor. Cursor type. Okay, why did I make that underscore then? Get rid of the underscore. Rename the symbol. Like that. Missing current cursor index, current cursor key. Set it to 0. Current cursor key, but it could be -1 if there's nothing in there. Invalidate library, update library. Let's get this into the state. If message.type update library, and we need to get the Soundfont library. And the Soundfont library looks like this. Okay. Make it async. Here's where we query. Perform query. Okay. Const library equals await. query nact. Yep. I need a reference to the Soundfont library. How'd they get the context service? Oof. Okay, I need to look at hierarchy to get this hierarchy. Parent. Children. Can I get something from the parent though? Do I need to inject? Oh, yuck. Do I need to inject the reference to this? Maybe the Soundfont library should be a child of the cursor. Spawn user contact service. User ID. Or maybe this should be part of the Soundfont library itself. That makes sense, because then I don't need to trigger this. The fact that I'm pulling the entire state into this object from another one is like an anti-pattern. This is actually a function of the other object. Yeah. Let's try it on, see what happens. Yeah, this makes sense. Add this to the state. Oh, that makes so much sense. Okay. Nope. Alt. There we go. So we don't need that. We got the different cursor types. Yep. Scan library, get library, add entry. Okay, so if message.type equals, let's copy it from here. Create cursor. Soundfont library. So I can probably just rename this to scan message. Scan library. Get library. Add entry. Create cursor message. Okay, so if it's equal to create cursor, name, go to the definition. Yeah, okay, gotta add it in. So the new cursor. Now, got to return the existing state, which looks like state dot, what's wrong with the state? Soundfont library state. Dot cursors. Ah, I see. Cursors. State dot cursors. And then put the new cursor in under the name. And put this in that. We just created a new cursor. Okay. That's cool. Yeah, the cursor needs to be a function of the, because we can update the cursors. When we rescan the library. So let's do update cursor. So we'll make it of type cursor. pass in the state to this whole thing. I'm writing it as this function because we'll use it in two senses, creating a cursor and then after we rescan. Yeah. Okay. So cursed content. I call content equals cursor dot type equals entry cursor state dot entries or state dot files. Okay, so if content, hang on, because state dot entries it's an array of entries, array of files. Okay, if content length equals 0, cursor dot current cursor index equals -1. In which case we just do return cursor, set the current cursor index to -1. And the cursor key to undefined current cursor key. Okay, this is not going to work here. Yeah, okay, so make that current cursor key. Ding. No. String or undefined. Current cursor key will be undefined to start with. So, if current cursor key is undefined, that means that it's a new cursor. So current cursor index 0. Okay, we'll do it like this. Let's dereference everything off this cursor. Current cursor index, current cursor key, current cursor type. Okay, if it's an entry cursor, then the current cursor key is entries content. If it's an entry cursor, then we have an array of these. And I need to find it by its friendly name. Okay. So make a function here. Find index by friendly name. And it's going to take entries and oh no, it's easy to do here. Soundfont library entry. Yeah, okay. Like that. No, it gets initialized as 0, but it may not be. Like that. Current cursor key is state.files current cursor entry index. Okay, so let's deal with this case. If the current cursor index is greater than content.length, then current cursor index equals content.length minus 1. It's a constant. Eq new cursor index. Or else current cursor index. A new cursor index. Okay, so otherwise, the new cursor key is set, and we should find out where it is indexed in the thing. Okay, so to key, if key doesn't exist, set to 0. Okay. Entries and key. Now entries is this. Find entry index by friendly name. How do I find an object in an array of objects by a key of the object? I could do a filter, but I'd lose the index. I could reduce the array and put the index into the accumulator. Okay, so array reduce. Previous and current. And then initialize it with -1, not found. And then I'm going to return current dot friendly name equals key. Yes. Previous current I. Is that how it works? Current index, yeah. And then I return I, or I return the previous value. There we go. Boom. Oh no, because I need to I'll do this. Const index equals this. And then I return current cursor key is entries index. Dot friendly name. Current cursor index is index. Nice. Find file index by name. Files index of key, and then return if index is -1, current cursor index is 0, current cursor key is file 0. Otherwise, current cursor index is index current cursor key is files index key. Good catch. Okay. Okay, so return if it's an entry cursor, find entry index by state entries. Otherwise, find file index by name, state.files, comma, current cursor key. Ta-da! Now, that was close. Very good. So update cursor returns current cursor index key type key index type. Oh yeah, it can return undefined. Current cursor key can be undefined. Yeah, okay. So here we would say update cursor state there we go. It's a lot of code with no tests. A lot of code with no tests. Yeah, if you're getting started coding, it's not a good idea to write this much code with no tests. So many things that could be wrong with this. No way of testing it. Crazy. Made sense when I wrote it. Can't understand a line of it right now. Anyway, I love coding. Okay. What next? Scan library, move the cursor to the next entry. This is epic. Yeah, okay. I need a cursor into the instruments as well, but that's okay. I can do that separately. Move cursor to key should be pretty easy because I can just do update cursor and pass in the new cursor key. I need to take a break.